History. It comes around and goes around. This is my story, Wayne Robinson. My story is a reflection on the importance of understanding that history does repeat itself and that those that cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. The student will also learn that when we look back at the cycles of history, research shows that we can actually get a projection into our future. The year was 1997. William Jefferson Clinton was just inaugurated for his second term. Sadly, it was also the year we lost Princess Diana and one of my favorite entertainers, Chris Farley. He was only 33 years old. And we discovered in 1997 that our mom had cancer. I do remember 1997 well. All was quite well with regard to the economy and foreign policy, two of my hot buttons. The stock market was doing quite well, with a few quirks that I needed to better understand. The Berlin Wall had come down 8 years earlier. It appeared that the 15 Soviet republics had broken up and the old Soviet Union was embracing an exciting move into democracy. The evil empire was on its heels, or so we thought. My corporate career had progressed from engineering through strategic marketing and into the wild and crazy world of mergers, acquisitions, and technology investments. Markets, economics, technology, there was so much to learn. What can I learn from the trends of history, I wondered. In my quest for knowledge, I came upon the work of two historian researchers and authors, William Strauss and Neil Howe. They were dedicated research of societies and generations. They had looked back over 500 years of history and had discovered that, yes, history does repeat itself. And they also discovered that history has repeated in a 4-generation cycle of about every 80 years. Within the cycles are turnings, and there were 4 turnings in an 80-year cycle. Think of each turning as a 20-year generational time period. The book was published in 1997. 1997 would be the mid-third turning according to their research. The third turning throughout history had been considered a period of culture wars and individualism. They predicted we would enter the fourth turning in 2008, in about 11 years. They referred to the upcoming fourth turning as the crisis generation. And looking back at previous fourth turnings, we see that about 80 years ago, we were fighting fascism and about to enter World War II. Why does that feel so scary right now? About 80 years before that, we were fighting against slavery in the Civil War. And 80 years prior to that, we were fighting for independence in the American Revolution. Within our most recent cycle, Turning 1 had been our hero generation, from 1946 to 1964. Think of our GI heroes coming home in the American high after World War II. Fascism was defeated. The country was united. The government was great, and the middle class would soon be thriving. We were stronger together. The second turning was the consciousness generation from 1964 through 1984. Remember the urban riots, the campus fury, alongside the Vietnam War protest and a rebellious counterculture. The third turning, from 1984 through 2008, brought us the culture wars and individualism. People feel optimistic about their own personal lives, but pessimistic about the country. We have now entered the fourth turning, predicted to be 2008 to 2029. It's the me generation. The greed prevails as the middle class is faced with rising inequality while breaking into competing value camps. When I first read the book in 1997, we were in the middle of the third turning, and life was good. My company was doubling revenue every year, stock market was rocking, the economy was booming. By 2001, my country would be running a budget surplus of about $300 billion a year. That was exciting. and soon, we believed, our country would be completely out of debt. But the author's research had warned and predicted a fourth turning, a crisis generation, that would start in about 10 years. But how could that be? All was going so well. So I filed the book away in my research bookshelf for about 18 years. That was until recently when I said to myself, oh my God, we're in the fourth turning. Where the heck did I put that book? American families had lost $16 trillion in wealth during the Bush 41 recession. That is about $135,000 average loss per family. Most of the loss was in housing value, which will be slow to come back. The erasure of home equity for so many would have a serious negative effect on the financing of their children's future education. New debt would soon be piling up on the kids. In 2003, we had started a war and occupation with Iraq, a country that we now know is not a threat to us. The cost of that war could reach $6 trillion, we are told. More future debt will accumulate on our children. We had lost over 4,500 U.S. soldiers killed and another 32,000 wounded. The death count is accurate, but the wounded figure wildly underestimates the number of American service members who have come back from Iraq less than whole. Their research only predicts the generations and cycles of the turning. They cannot predict the outcomes of the fourth turning. That outcome will be determined by our next hero generation. Yes, millennials, that is you, and God bless as you embrace this crisis. Where do we go next? What are the dangers we will be confronting in this fourth turning? I have deep concern for political corruption and inequality. It feels like we are cycling through the Gilded Age again. Will it be man-made climate change that brings us to our knees? Fake news and misinformation abounds, being passed from one uninformed to another. We greatly lack media literacy in these United States. What will be the next crisis? Millennials, are you ready for this? History does repeat itself, and those that cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Thank you.